Imagine starting with almost nothing and building an empire that would reach billions. Today, we're diving into the incredible journey of Elon Musk, the man who turned bold ideas into world-changing companies and became one of the wealthiest visionaries on the planet. This is not just a story about money. It's about persistence, risk, and the relentless pursuit of a dream. Welcome to the true story of Elon Musk's path to billions. The night sky above Pretoria was endless, a blanket of stars stretching far beyond the eye could see. On the roof of his family's modest home, a thin boy with messy hair sat cross-legged, clutching a worn science fiction book. His name was Elon Musk, and even at the age of 12, his thoughts reached farther than most adults could imagine. He traced constellations with his finger, whispering to himself, "One day, maybe not here, maybe not even in my lifetime, but one day, humans will live out there." Downstairs, his mother, May Musk, called him in for dinner. She worried about her son. He was brilliant, too brilliant perhaps, but also quiet, awkward, and often the target of cruel bullies at school. Elon's brother, Kimball, was the only one who truly understood him. Later that night, the brothers sat in their shared room. Elon was bent over a small computer screen, typing furiously, while Kimball tossed a ball against the wall. "You know, Elon," Kimball said, breaking the silence, "you spend more time with that computer than with people." Elon didn't look up. People don't always understand. But computers, they do exactly what you tell them to. Kimball chuckled. "You're gonna build something big one day, huh? Maybe bigger than anyone else." Elon finally turned, eyes shining. "Not just big, Kimball. Something that changes everything." But outside their dreams, life was harsh. School was a battlefield. Elon returned home more than once with bruises, his books scattered in the dirt, his spirit shaken. Still at night, he climbed back onto the roof to gaze at the stars. One evening, battered from yet another fight, he whispered with fierce determination, "I won't stay here forever. I'll leave this place. I'll find a way to reach the future I see in my mind." The boy who dreamed of rockets and planets tightened his grip on the railing, staring into the infinite sky. Somewhere beyond the horizon, his destiny was waiting. And with that, the journey had begun. The chill of a Canadian winter bit at Elon's cheeks as he stepped off the bus, a worn suitcase in one hand and a head full of impossible dreams. He had left South Africa behind with barely any money, chasing the distant promise of opportunity. Canada was his first stop, a stepping stone to the United States, the land where technology and ambition could reshape the future. Life was far from easy. Elon worked odd jobs, sometimes scrubbing floors, sometimes carrying heavy bags in the snow. At night, he studied by the dim light of a borrowed desk lamp, hunched over thick textbooks. When he couldn't afford rent, he slept on friends' couches, or even on the floor of cramped student apartments. It was during these years at Queen's University that he met Justine Wilson, a young woman with fiery eyes and a sharp mind. They often stayed up late in the campus library, their conversations drifting from philosophy to science to impossible dreams. One evening, walking across the frozen campus under the glow of street lamps, Justine stopped him. "Elon," she said, her breath fogging in the air, "you don't just dream, you obsess. Most people talk about the future. You talk about it as if it's already here." Elon smiled faintly, hands buried deep in his coat pockets. "I don't want to just imagine the future, Justine. I want to build it. I'll live my life when humanity is safe among the stars." She studied him for a moment, half amused, half concerned. "Safe among the stars? You sound like a character from one of your science fiction books." "Maybe," Elon admitted softly. "But someone has to try." Meanwhile, his mother, May, still in South Africa, worried endlessly about her son. She wrote long letters filled with encouragement but also concern, asking if he was eating well, if he had friends, if he was safe. Elon rarely spoke of his struggles, but his determination shone through every reply. Through cold winters, endless hours of study, and the constant weight of survival, Elon held onto a single thought: Canada was only the beginning. The United States, where giants of technology were born, that was his true destination. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, he opened an envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter of acceptance from the University of Pennsylvania. His heart pounded as he read the words. "America," he whispered to himself. "The real journey starts now." And with that, Elon Musk set his sights on the land of possibility. Philadelphia buzzed with energy. The campus of the University of Pennsylvania overflowed with ideas, ambition, and restless youth. Elon Musk, now in his early 20s, walked quickly across the quad with notebooks full of calculations and sketches. To him, every empty page was a chance to design the future. Sharing a small, cluttered apartment with his brother Kimball, Elon's life was anything but glamorous. The room smelled faintly of cold pizza and coffee. Wires, books, and scraps of paper covered the floor. By day, they studied. By night, they dreamed, and those dreams soon began to take shape. One evening, with the city glowing through the window, Elon looked up from his computer screen. "Kimball, what if we build a company that maps the world? Imagine an online guide for every city, every business, right at people's fingertips." Kimball, leaning back on his chair, raised an eyebrow. "An online map? Sounds insane." But insane in a good way. They called it Zip2, a digital business directory for newspapers. With no money for rent, they moved into the office, sleeping on beanbags and showering at the YMCA. Days blended into nights as they coded, pitched, and pushed forward. Kimball sometimes complained, half laughing, half exhausted. "We can't keep living like this, Elon. Normal people need sleep, you know." Elon shot him a determined look. "We can. Because the world needs this. One day, someone will pay millions for what we're building." As the company slowly gained attention, Elon grew consumed. He spent nearly every waking moment in front of his screen, chasing perfection. His girlfriend, Justine, began to feel the weight of his obsession. "Elon, you never stop," she said one evening. "Even when you're with me, your mind is somewhere else, inside your machines." Elon sighed, his voice low. "I can't help it. This isn't just work, Justine. It's the first step toward something bigger." Months of sacrifice finally paid off. In 1999, Compaq purchased Zip2 for more than $300 million. Elon, barely 28 years old, became a multi-millionaire overnight. But as the papers were signed and the champagne glasses clinked, Elon's eyes were already elsewhere. He wasn't celebrating. He was calculating. "This is just fuel," he whispered to himself. "Now I can build something even greater." And so, instead of resting, Elon Musk set his sights on a new dream, an online bank that would shake the world. The year was 1999, and Silicon Valley pulsed with ambition. .com startups appeared overnight, fortunes were made and lost in months, and the air itself seemed charged with possibility. Into this whirlwind stepped Elon Musk, fresh from the sale of Zip2 and ready to gamble everything on a new idea. X.com, an online bank that could move money instantly, anywhere in the world. Elon walked into a rented office space, eyes burning with determination. He gathered a small team and spoke with the conviction of a man who saw what others couldn't. "Banking is broken," he declared. "It's slow, outdated, trapped in paperwork. We'll reinvent it. No branches, no delays, just fast, digital money." The idea was bold, almost reckless. Investors were intrigued, but some doubted his pace. In one tense meeting, a gray-haired investor leaned forward, frowning. "You're moving too fast, Elon. Online banking isn't ready. Consumers won't trust it." Elon didn't flinch. The future doesn't wait for readiness. It waits for courage. At the same time, across the valley, another company, Confinity, led by Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, was developing its own payment system. What began as rivalry quickly became open warfare. Teams worked day and night, each racing to out-innovate the other. Meanwhile, Elon's personal life strained under the pressure. Justine, now his wife, felt herself drifting further from the man she loved. One evening, as he typed furiously at his desk, she placed a hand on his shoulder. "Elon, do you ever stop? Even for me? For us?" He paused but didn't meet her eyes. "I can't. If we win this, everything changes. For everyone." Eventually, the rivals merged. X.com and Confinity became PayPal, uniting vision with execution. The service spread like wildfire, reshaping how the world moved money online. Yet even in victory, Elon's position was fragile. While traveling in Australia, he received a call. The board had voted to replace him as CEO. Sitting in a hotel room half a world away, Elon stared out at the ocean, silent. His brother Kimball's voice echoed over the phone. "You can't control everything, Elon. Even visionaries need allies." PayPal soon sold to eBay for $1.5 billion, making Elon wealthier than ever. But the sting of betrayal lingered. He had money, yes, but not peace. Elon whispered to himself, almost like a vow, "I won't stop here. This was just another step. The real journey has only begun." And with that, Elon Musk turned his eyes to the stars. The year was 2002. Elon Musk had more money than he had ever imagined, but wealth alone didn't satisfy him. Sitting in his quiet office, he opened a book about Mars colonization and whispered to himself, "If life is to survive long-term, humanity must become multi-planetary." That thought consumed him. While others invested in safer ventures, Elon poured his fortune into an idea that many called insane: SpaceX, a private company that would build rockets from scratch. The first warehouse in El Segundo, California, looked nothing like NASA's pristine facilities. It smelled of metal and sweat, filled with second-hand equipment and a handful of engineers who dared to believe. Elon walked among them, sleeves rolled up, asking questions about valves, engines, and fuel mixtures as if he were one of them. Some doubted him. One skeptical engineer muttered during a late-night session, "Rockets aren't cars, Elon. They explode." Elon replied without hesitation, his voice calm but sharp, "Then we'll build them until they don't." At the same time, another bold venture pulled at him. Tesla Motors, a small electric car startup, was struggling for survival. Elon invested millions, convinced that clean energy and electric vehicles could transform the world. The double burden was crushing. Long hours at SpaceX turned into sleepless nights at Tesla. His marriage to Justine cracked under the weight of his obsession. One evening, she confronted him in their home, her voice heavy with frustration. "You don't belong to this family anymore, Elon. You belong to your companies." He lowered his gaze, silent, knowing she wasn't wrong. Despite the personal sacrifices, he pressed forward. The first SpaceX rocket, the Falcon 1, stood tall on a launch pad in the Pacific. Elon watched nervously from mission control, every screen glowing with data. The countdown began, engines roared, and then catastrophe. The rocket lifted, wavered, and tore apart in the sky. The room fell silent. Engineers buried their faces in their hands. Elon closed his eyes, his heart pounding. His dream of space had literally gone up in flames. But instead of retreating, he stood, his voice steady, carrying through the stunned silence. "This isn't the end. We'll fix what went wrong. We'll try again, and again, until we succeed." And so, Elon Musk stepped deeper into the fire, refusing to turn back. By 2007, Elon Musk stood at the edge of ruin. 3 consecutive SpaceX rocket launches had ended in fiery explosions, each one tearing millions of dollars from his fortune and pieces from his soul. At the same time, Tesla was burning cash, struggling with delays, supply problems, and angry investors. Elon sat in his office, pale from exhaustion, staring at a whiteboard covered in calculations. His team watched him nervously, waiting for direction. Finally he spoke, his voice hoarse but unyielding. "We have one last shot. One more rocket. If it fails, SpaceX dies." Meanwhile, Tesla's troubles mounted. Suppliers demanded payments he couldn't afford, and employees threatened to walk out. In boardrooms, whispers spread. Elon Musk was reckless, arrogant, a man chasing fantasies. The stress seeped into his personal life. Friends begged him to slow down, to take care of himself. At night, alone in his home, he read articles mocking him, headlines calling SpaceX a joke, Tesla a disaster. Still, he refused to surrender. One evening, his phone rang. It was his mother, May, calling from Canada. Her voice, calm but firm, cut through his despair. "Elon, you've always been stubborn. But remember this: failure doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do after you fall." Her words steadied him. Days later, the fourth Falcon 1 rocket rose from the pad. Every heartbeat in mission control seemed louder than the roar of the engines. Elon gripped the edge of his chair, his knuckles white. Minutes dragged on like hours. The rocket climbed higher, past the point where all the others had failed. Then, finally, success. Falcon 1 reached orbit. For the first time in history, a privately built rocket had done what only governments had achieved before. Cheers erupted, tears streamed, and Elon slumped forward, overwhelmed. Not long after, NASA called with a $1.6 billion contract, saving SpaceX from collapse. Yet even in triumph, he felt how close he had come to losing everything: his fortune, his companies, even his health. But Elon Musk was not finished. He had survived the fire. Now, he was ready to rise. The year was 2012. The dust of near bankruptcy had settled, and now the world began to look at Elon Musk with awe instead of doubt. Tesla launched its first real masterpiece, the Model S, a sleek electric car that stunned critics and silenced skeptics. Orders poured in, investors returned, and for the first time, the dream of sustainable transport seemed real. At the same time, SpaceX soared higher. Rockets that once exploded now landed contracts with NASA, carrying supplies to the International Space Station. Elon had gone from being mocked as the crazy rocket guy to a man reshaping industries. But success came at a cost. Inside Tesla's factory, employees whispered about his relentless pace. Some adored his vision, others feared his wrath. Late one night, after another grueling shift, an engineer confronted him. "You drive us like machines, Elon. We're people. We need rest." Elon's eyes were sharp, his voice unwavering. Because machines don't quit when the future is at stake. And the future is all that matters. Behind closed doors, Elon wrestled with guilt. He saw his children less than he wanted, often missing milestones in their lives. The price of greatness was heavy, and he carried it silently. Then came the milestone he had never sought directly but could no longer ignore. News outlets declared him a billionaire, his name climbing the ranks of the world's wealthiest. Cameras flashed, articles praised his genius, and his face became a symbol of bold ambition. At a quiet celebration dinner, surrounded by colleagues and family, Elon raised a glass but barely smiled. As others toasted his success, he slipped outside, staring at the night sky. The stars glimmered like they had when he was a boy in South Africa. He whispered softly to himself, "This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. Mars is still waiting." And in that moment, Elon Musk understood that his fortune was not a finish line, but fuel for the next impossible dream. Years had passed. Inside a vast SpaceX hangar, the enormous Falcon Heavy rocket stood like a monument to human ambition. Elon Musk walked slowly beneath its towering engines, his footsteps echoing in the silence. His hair carried a touch of gray now, his face marked by years of battles won and lost. But his eyes, those eyes still burned with the same restless fire. His brother Kimball joined him, smiling warmly. "You did it, Elon. You've got the rockets, the cars, the billions. You've changed the world." Elon ran his hand across the cold metal of the rocket. Not enough. This is just the foundation. Our real home is out there. He lifted his gaze toward the sky. Later, his mother, May, arrived, standing proudly beside her son. She had watched him stumble, fight, and rise again. For her, Elon was no longer just the boy who sat alone under the South African stars. He was proof that dreams, no matter how impossible, could be forged into reality. Children's laughter filled the hangar, Elon's own kids, running between crates and equipment, marveling at the sheer size of the machines. Their voices echoed with wonder, just as his had decades ago. That night, Elon stood outside with Kimball, staring through a telescope at the faint red in the sky. Kimball asked quietly, "You've got your billions, Elon. But tell me, was it worth it?" Elon smiled faintly, his eyes locked on Mars. "Ask me again when we're standing there, together." The wind was cool, the night calm, but within him surged a fire that would never rest. The boy who once dreamed under African skies had become a man who bent reality to his will. His journey to $1 billion was never about money. It was always about the horizon, always about the stars. Thank you for staying with us all the way to the end of this video. I truly appreciate your time and energy. If you want to go even further and develop a true millionaire mindset, don't miss the special link here on the channel. It's packed with powerful insights to help transform your future. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and join our growing community of achievers. See you in the next one.